Hi, in this tutorial we're going to create a website that tracks users as they log locations from mobile apps. We're going to use all web technology. We're going to use the Ionic framework for the mobile apps so we can do cross-platform development. We're going to use the Firebase SDK to do live updating when a user logs a location. We're going to allow users to log photos into the database and dynamically update them to the app. So there's two parts. The first part is setting up the website side of this app where you can see users logging their thoughts and pictures from their mobile apps. And the second part is developing the mobile app. We're going to use web technology for the whole frame for all of it. We're going to use the Angular framework for the mobile app side and just JavaScript and Bootstrap for the web development side. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is sign up for a Google Cloud Platform account so that we can use the Googlemaps SDK. So get an account, and then it is worth mentioning that without a education voucher like I'm using, Google Maps does charge for using their SDK. I believe their charges are reasonable, but just be aware of that. Firebase, on the other hand, is totally free, up to about 5 or 6 apps. I can't really remember. That's the other thing you'll need to sign up for right away. So go to the firebase.google.com console. This is going to function as our database so that users can log data in something external to their phone, and the website and other people with that same phone app can pick up that data from an external database. In fact, we'll have it dynamically update on both the web side and the app side. Alright, so let's get started with the development of the website. So I'm going to be using Visual Code as my text editor for the website. So let me drag that editor over. Here we go. So Visual Code is a free IDE you can get. And the first thing I'm going to do is let's make a new folder. So let's save this file here, our default file, as index.html. This will be our landing page, and I'm just going to put this on my desktop in a new folder called map app tutorial. Alright, so let's save that there, and the index is going to need a doc type HTML. So there we go, doc type HTML, and HTML lang we can set equal to English in our case, and there's our HTML tags. So in the head we want to put some required meta tags for Bootstrap. And in case you're wondering where I'm getting this, it is if you just go to Bootstrap, getbootstrap.com, and then examples. Actually, let's go to documentation. Introduction, scroll down. This will save us some time. In fact, we can just pull this quick start code here and paste it in. And I'll explain what all this does. So what we have is our doc type, like I said. These are required meta tags for Bootstrap. This is just so it'll resize nicely in case someone goes on a tablet or a phone or a different screen size. Then we have a link to the Bootstrap CSS. That's going to do the business work of formatting everything. And we have a title, which we'll call map website. Or just map, actually. How about that? In the body, we don't need this hello world. We can get rid of that. And down here are the important script references to make Bootstrap work. So the jQuery reference, the popper.js reference, and the reference to bootstrap.js itself. So now that those are all set, let us handle the configuration settings first to have Firebase working with us and the maps working with us. So the first thing we need to do before that is go to Google Cloud and make a new project. So let's go to new project, and let's call this map tutorial. And you might have to set a billing account. I have one already, to actually that have education vouchers that they've been kind enough to give me for my classes. So I'm going to create, oh, we might need to pick an organization. Maybe not. All right, let's create. All right, and there's our app. It's making it. And the only thing we're going to use, although they have a lot of resources, is their Maps SDK. I'll pause the video for a second while this creates. Okay, actually, while that is creating, we can set up a Firebase project. So I'm going to switch over to Firebase and go to my console. Once you have an account, you should see something like this. And we're going to add a project and call it Maps Tutorial, and accept the terms and conditions. And so then that will take a second to create. All right, so we have a project in Google Maps. So what we want to do now is activate the SDK. So if we explore and enable APIs, and we look for map. Nope. Let's find this. So we need Maps SDK. Let's switch over to library, and there we go. So here's the way to search. We want Maps SDK for JavaScript for now, and we're going to enable that. Over in Firebase, it has created our project now. So in Firebase, I'm going to go over to a database and just make sure everything's set up. This is their new Cloud Firestore, is their new flagship database. It's I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the more stable real-time database, and this is the standard for right now. It'll probably switch over in the future to the cloud one. So we're going to start in test mode. We're not going to handle authentication in this tutorial. So this is just going to allow anyone who has access to our database to write and read to it, including people watching this tutorial. So this database isn't going to be active for very long, but just to show you the process. All right, there is our database, our database link right there. And what we're going to need from this project is, if we go over to project settings, and let's see here, we need, if I just click there, Maps Tutorial, there we go. Get started by adding Firebase to your app. So we want the web one, and there is our link, our API key and link. So I'm going to copy that, just copy it that way, and over in Visual, I'm going to paste that right above the Bootstrap references. Okay, and that's going to give us a Firebase initialization. After that, we can use the database, and the way we're going to use that database is after we load Firebase here, we will have a controller called Firebase controller.js, and then let's actually make that JavaScript file here. So file, new file, let's save it as Firebase controller.js. There we go. All right, so we have that link at least, and I'm gonna open up this Explorer and just open up the folder here so I can see the things available to me in this folder over there on the right. Let's go back to my index. Okay, so once we have the link to Firebase, we also need a link to our map. So let's do that right under Firebase. Actually, let's do that after we get links to Bootstrap. And this script we want to load asynchronously. So async defer, and our source is going to be https maps/googleapi.com/maps/api/js key equals. And then we're going to, after we put our key in, have a and I'll just put some dots there so we remember to put our key in. We'll have a callback here. So callback equals init map. Okay. And before that, let's have another script that handles our maps itself, called source equals maps.js. Okay, and we'll make that as well. So let's just do a new file, maps.js. Kind of easier to do it that way. All right, so let's go get our API key from Google. We have Firebase initialed, and over here in Google, we need to go to credentials. So I'm in the Maps JavaScript API, remember? We need to go to credentials and then create credentials. And we want an API key. So there it is. I'm going to copy that and close. And there it is in case you need it again. So again, that was credentials, create API key. So in Visual Code now, I am going to paste that key in right here, and that should work just fine. All right, so we've handled maps. Let's start with the maps.js file. So in maps.js, oh, and we need one more file actually, which is just going to be our maps.css. And let's go ahead and load that at the top of our index. So up here, we have a link to Bootstrap after that link so that I override it when I need to. I'm going to put my own style sheet, which is maps.css, and rel style sheet, and type equals text CSS. Okay. In maps, well, let's start with maps.css. So in maps.css, let's have a tag called map, and for that tag, we're just going to make sure that the height is 100%. Okay. And that should be good for that. Otherwise, with Bootstrap, sometimes the map gets compressed to 0 with a Bootstrap div, and we don't want that to happen. Our map would be invisible, it would still be loading though. Alright, so now in our index, let's go ahead and add a div where we can put our map. So, body, let's just have a div, and let's tag that with an ID equals map. Okay, that's all we'll put for now, and then we'll close that div. And okay, so in maps.js, let's focus on the maps part first, and then we'll load the Bootstrap part. Let's have two variables, a variable for map and a variable for our info windows. So we want the ability to, when a user clicks on a location that somebody's logged, for them to see the data. Let's have a variable just to set the initial position. I'm not sure that we'll use this other than for testing, but our latitude can be -30 or something, and our longitude can be 30, 40, about that. Oh, and let's make sure that these wind up as doubles. Alright, so we need to write a function called initMap that our link to the Maps SDK has a callback. When we do that, we'll set this global variable map equal to new google.maps.map, and we'll feed in our document, our element. Let's get element by ID. We'll feed in our element, our div, which is map, to this initialization. Then let's open some brackets, and let's set the center of that map to our initial position. Let's set the zoom to something like 1, and we need a map type ID, which will say Google Maps map type ID dot, for now we can make it a roadmap, and that will conclude the initialization. Now we can make an info window, and we'll make that equal to new google.maps.info window. And it's giving me the option of lowercase, but I think I want actually, you know what, actually we can leave this off for now. I want to handle info windows as an array later on, so let's just leave that blank for now. And okay, that should be good for our map. So let's test it out. So I'm going to open up, I'm going to reveal this in Explorer and just double click on it, and let's take a look. So nothing is loading yet. Failed to load resource, net error, cert common name invalid. Alright, so hitting Control-Shift-I, like so, reveals a little more. So it is our callback, our initialization. So something went wrong there. Let's go to their documentation, and I'm going to do that by Google Maps SDK docs. Maps with JavaScript, and let's see how they do this. So I probably just put something strange in the callback here. Let me just grab all of that. And let's paste it in to our index here instead of this. And let's put our API key there. I think something went wrong with the way that I typed that. That's what I suspect. Alright, so let's go back to our credentials and let me copy the API key. And let's paste that in here. Save. And let's make sure callback init map, maps.js, init map, and that all looks good. All right, let's reload. Init map is not a function. Okay. Interesting. So it is. Let's see here. It is a function, and it should know about it because we are calling our maps.js script here. See the problem? You see it? So we have a bracket right there. That should be right here. So maps.js is actually not loading. All right, so let's refire. Cannot read property roadmap. Okay. So let's see what went wrong there. And that's going to be in maps.js. Map type ID. Google Maps map type. Oh, this needs to be uppercase. Okay, so just the initial setting up be a little bit strange. Okay, so I'm not seeing a map yet, but let's look at our elements here. And we do have a div. And that's not it. I just want to see, are we loading the map? And it looks like we are. So all this stuff is the map. It's just collapsed up here. So something about our height for the map did not work. So this is that bootstrap problem I was talking about. And whoops. So let's go to our maps.css. Make sure that's saved. And are we referencing that correctly? Looks good. So our link href maps.css. Style sheet, and there's our text type, and we have a map with our height set to 100%. Let's put in some HTML for the body and height as well. Make sure that's 100%. See if that solves our problem. There we go. Okay. So the body was actually collapsing in its initial setup before the map loaded. But that looks good. We're really far zoomed out right now. We can increase the zoom if we want to zoom in on this location in maps.js. So if we set it to like 6, there we go. We're in the middle of the ocean somewhere. Okay, so Maps SDK set up, great. Next thing I want to set up is Firebase. So switching gears here, let's start editing our Firebase controller. Okay, so there's Maps. Let's look at Firebase. Oops. Let's look at Firebase controller.js. Okay. So for Firebase controller, I'm going to have a variable which I'll call locations ref and set that equal to firebase.database .ref, and let's put this all in something called location data. So this will be just the directory kind of or the location in the database that will look for locations. So we have to make sure that we make that reference when we make a location. So var, let's have a array that's just going to be easier to work with than the database itself. So when we get information from the database, we will put it in the array, and then we can access this array from other classes like maps.js. All right. So first we need to get to the database. So locations ref, we have a reference to the database here, and we're going to want to, whenever we see a value change, call a function that takes a snapshot as a parameter. And let's make another function called snapshot to array, again, so we can take Firebase snapshot and work with it as an array. And then after that, we'll update locations, and this will be a function in maps.js. That will work with that array. Okay, so our Firebase controller, we're going to update locations. So we need to be able to write user data. Actually, no, we don't, because our apps are going to take care of this. So let's just write our snapshot to array, and that'll be snapshot as the parameter, and we'll have a variable location array, just the local variable, and we'll say snapshot dot for each, and we want to look at the children, so child snapshot, so the actual locations, and we'll say variable item equals child snapshot dot value, and locations array dot push, so this local data, location array dot push item, and we will finish that loop, and then we'll reset our locations data array each time. So this is our global variable that maps.js is going to talk to, and we'll just reset that to location array, so that we override our data each time when we get new data, because sometimes locations might get deleted, and we just always want to clear out that array with this initialization. So, okay, that's set. Now over in maps.js, we need to write this update locations. So first we'll need to grab the array length, and we'll set that equal to locations data array dot length, and let's have a variable for position, and then for each variable I equals 0, I less than array length, I plus plus. We'll have a for each loop that iterates over all of these, and what we'll do is let's add a marker. So we have to write this function, and we'll pass in the map itself and our locations data array at index I. And at the very end, so we want the map kind of located around where all this data is. So let's just set the center at the end to the, you know what, let's do this inside the for loop. So it'll take a little while to load, but we can do set center to the position and set zoom to 4. So we load the map somewhere around the last position. Okay. And then after we initialize the map, we don't actually need an info. Well, let's initialize the info window, but we can update locations so that on load we get a location around where we want it. Okay. Now we need to write the add marker. So for this, we're taking in a map and a location. Location is going to be a location is an object with position, text, and picture, just to keep that straight. Alright, so in add marker, let's have a var marker equals new google.maps.marker. And we'll need a position. So let's have, and we have a position here. Let's see. So let's just have a var position equals lat location dot latitude and long location dot longitude. Oh, and these need to be commas. And then let's have okay, and so then this variable that marker is going to use that position. So position, pause, map. Those are the two variables that we need to set a marker. All right, after that, let's define a content string. So this is going to be basically this is going to be some HTML that we're going to load into the markers when people click on them. So let's have a div class equals info window. We can define that class at our leisure. And ID, we need an ID to tag this as a clickable item. Oops, clickable item. Then we close that bracket, and let's add to this content string. So let's have a h3, and we can put our location title into that h3, and then close the h3, and then let's have we'll add a div class equals info content. Close that, and we will add, whoops, and then we'll add to that an image with the source equal to source equals close that, and we'll add location.picture. And then we can, let's see here, we want to style that a bit, so let's add some CSS into this content string. And what we'll do is, so after we add the source, we need to source equals that. We need to have a space, maybe an alt equals picture, and a style equals width 30 pixels, height 30 pixels, and then maybe adding 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 20 pixels, and 20 pixels. All right, give it some padding, and close the style, and then plus. Oh, and you know what? We need to. So there's our image with our source. So at the very end of this, we need a bracket like that. Okay. And let's see here. We don't need that. All right. So we close the image, and we have a plus, and now we want our let's just have a p element here. So p plus location content, and these are just going to be parts of the location data structure that we will define in the mobile side of the app. So right now they don't mean anything, but they will when they have Firebase, when we fill our Firebase database with information that users log from their phone. All right, let's close those last two divs, and that's going to be the end of our content string. Let's just make sure that that makes sense as a string. So we have div, there's a class, and we add to that a string which is h3. We add to that a string which is another div class, and we add to that string with our image source, and a string which is the image styling. Close the image. Oh, yep, style width, close that, close the image, and then we have a string which is our location content, and we close that, and then a string which is div string. Okay, looks good. So now let's have a variable info window equals new Google.maps.info window. And you know what? We don't actually need the info window up here anymore. Well, let's leave it in. We might use that global variable later. So content is going to be our content string that we just defined, and we can set our max width to something like 400. That's it. Now we want a listener. So info We want a listener on our marker. So let's say marker.add listener and click. So when it clicks, let's do the following. Just define the function right here. Let's do info window dot open, and then we'll pass in our map and our marker. Okay. And then down here, let's add a Google Maps event, add listener, and we'll pass in the info window itself here, and we'll specify that this should be DOM ready, and we'll have a function which does the following. It says var clickable item equals document.get element by ID. So the ID we defined in our content string, which was clickable item, we will make so that on the clickable item, we'll add another event listener. When that is clicked, we will continue on to, we'll use a callback to load a page where we can view the location itself. So marker gets clicked on, it opens an info window. The info window gets clicked on, it opens another page. All right. So the final thing we have to do here is let's have a function, outside of this, let's have a function called load view page that takes a location, and we're going to use local storage. So the browser itself will store our current location title, and it will store our current location content. And this is just so we can access this stuff from another window, another browser location. So local storage dot set item current location picture. We'll have to make sure that picture is fairly small so that we can store it in local storage, because there is a max quota for that. And once we've stored all that stuff, we can actually just window dot location, and we'll send the user over to like how about info page, info.html. So let's define that page. So I'm going to right click, new file, info.html, and info.html is going to be Bootstrap as well. So let's just paste in from our index this stuff at the top. Minus, yeah, we can still get maps.css. And then let's go and grab the required Bootstrap files at the bottom. We might want access to maps.js as well. We don't need Firebase or Firebase controller, but we can grab all that. And info.html. Right. And then we'll need to close the body. Oops. Like so. And close the HTML. Right. Yeah. Okay. And then in info.html, it's okay to grab maps. We're going to need to load this data that we get with a new script which we can call load info. let's define that. And load info. First, let's make a in the body. Let's make a card. Div class equals. So we're going to use some Bootstrap here. We'll have a Bootstrap card, and we'll set the image of that card to give it an ID, which we can call picture, so we can reference it in code. And our source we can leave blank because we're going to replace that with code. Our class can be image sizing, so we can reference that with our style sheet, and alt we can leave blank as well. And then let's have a div class card body. And inside that we can have an h5, which needs an ID title, so we can set that in code. This class is going to be a Bootstrap class called card title, and we can leave the card title blank. Let's have a p element where our ID equals content, and our class is going to be the Bootstrap class card text. And then finally, let's have a button to go back. So href equals index.html class equals, and let's make this a Bootstrap button. So button primary. Give it a name. Back. And close the divs. All right. So in maps.css, let's define a new class, class called image sizing, and we can say margin auto, padding 20 pixels, border 1 pixel, solid, maybe like just for the color width, 30%, and height we can also set to 30%. All right, so now we have some styling in there when we load the image. Okay. And we'll just go back when we want to go back. So, in our, we only have to do a few more things in loadinfo.js. We'll just, when we load, so window.onload, when this equals our function. So when the browser loads the window, we'll say document.get element by ID title, and we'll set the inner HTML to whatever is in local storage.get item, and we call this current loc title. And instead of typing all that again, I'm just gonna paste it twice. So the content will also set the same way. We have a content element in our info HTML, and we're going to set it to current loc content. And the picture is a little different. We're just going to set the source to get local item, current look picture. All right. And good. That should do it. So now, from this point on, we're going to develop from the Ionic framework. We have our map. We have the ability to handle things from Firebase. To look at our database, in Firebase, we have this maps tutorial project. And we can scroll up and look at database. And database, create database, start and test. We want a real-time database. So there it is. There's nothing in it, but it is ready to go. So eventually we'll see locations data as a folder, and then things will get placed into that. All right, so let's switch over to Ionic. Okay, so you'll want to get the following things. The first thing you need for Ionic is node.js. So once you have that downloaded, and you can just get the current latest features or the stable one, doesn't matter. Once you have that downloaded, you can open a Windows command prompt and type in node. And what you want is the node.js command prompt. And we can see where that is if you want. So here's the actual location of that. Oh, that's a shortcut. Let's look at properties. All right, so you can type this command in if you wanted, if it doesn't pop up right away. There it is. But you just need to launch that node command prompt somehow. Usually you can do it straight from the Windows key. So node.js command prompt. I'm just going to run it as an admin just to be safe. And it looks something like this. So let me cd. So cd ... moves you around. If you're not familiar with command line, I'm going to cd to my users, cd to me, and cd to my desktop. Alright, so let's do some good development practices and set this up as a GitHub repo. So you'll want a GitHub account, and I'm going to make a new repo. I'm developing this tutorial primarily for a class, so I'm going to call this again 300 web. Game 300 2008 19. How about that? And we can even add in, what semester is it? Fall semester. Alright, there we go. And I'll just make it public. And git ignore. Let's just create it. Alright, so now we have a repo. I'm going to clone it. So I'm just going to cd, copy this in, Control C, and then in my node command prompt here. Where'd it go? Oh. There we go. I'm going to, let's see, git clone, paste that in. And now we should see GAM 300. Alright, so I'm actually going to do a little rearranging here. And here is the map app tutorial. I'm just going to grab that whole thing and put it into that Git repo. Oh, I'll have to actually close Visual Code first. And let's try that again. Alright, it's in the repo. Now if I hit git status, oh, cd to this gim 300. Whoops. My goodness. There we go. And hit git status, and it sees that I added that. So I'm going to git add everything, and then git status to check. There we go. Git commit -m added map website, and git push origin master. And there we go. Alright, so now my online repo has a copy of all that website code. There it is. So now that I have Node installed, I can make a new, first let's get the required things for Ionic. So if we go over to Ionic and go to developers, introduction, scroll down, it should give us, well, perhaps, let's see here, back, developers, quick start, installation, maybe? There we go. So npm install Ionic's what we want, but we're going to need a few other things first. So let's go ahead, and what we'll need is Cordova, and we'll also need Angular. Alright, so these are things that Ionic rests on, and they're just npm commands. So what we'll do is npm install Cordova, okay, and then npm install Angular, and you might want to do npm install -g like that if you're going to be making more than one app with Angular and Cordova. And the final thing is npm install Ionic. And as you can see, Ionic's recommended installation is this -g. So use the -g when you're installing. I've already installed everything globally. I'm just showing you the process here. So it would be npm install -g Cordova, npm install -g Angular, and npm Ionic. Okay. All of those are already installed for me. So now we just do Ionic start, and we're going to make a blank app, but we'll call it map app. About that. Map app blank. And it's going to take me through some options as it installs. Okay, so it's going to ask me if I want the free Ionic SDK to connect my app. I'm going to say yes. If you do, you'll have to set up a account with them, but you don't actually need to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. They have a online repo and build development process that you can check out at your leisure. I'm going to create a new app, and this time I'm going to use GitHub because I already set up a GitHub repo. So I'll say yes to where that is, and then I'm going to find Gim 300 Spring 2019 and link to the master branch. Okay, so now if I hit git status, you can see we have some things to add. So I will go ahead and add them. And we're going to want to use Angular Fire. Ionic. So let's see. They have some documentation here. Alright, so we're going to install Angular Fire. Ooh, actually, we don't want to do it that way. Let's see here. What are the npm commands I need here? I need okay, so yeah, we need Angular Fire. Let's just follow their own documentation here. Actually, this one looks like what I usually do. Angular Fire 2, yeah. Let's grab that, and in our Node.js command prompt, let's go ahead and, oh, we've added everything. Git status. Woo! Alright, so let's git commit -m, added Ionic project. Take a second. And it won't take this long usually. And then let's git push to master. And we'll see that Ionic project on GitHub as well. So using version control, very important to development in general. And this is some complicated database stuff we're about to do, so I want to just keep track of every check-in of my code and be able to roll back if I make a mistake. All right. So at this point we can npm, let's paste that command in, npm install Firebase in Angular Fire. The other thing we're going to need is Ionic plugin. We'll need the camera, and we'll need geolocation. And so this is going to allow us to access the cameras of iOS and Android devices, and allow us to access the geolocation of Android and iOS devices. So let's see what the command is here to get the camera. And we may need to... Alright, so we got save error. Interesting. Angular Fire has moved. We're now at Angular/Fire. Okay. That should be good. Requires appear. Alright. So that should be okay. Now let's yeah, before we add the camera, let's make sure we can get access to the database. So at this point, I'm going to use another text editor, which is called Atom. So this is just another IDE, and you can get it for free. And the reason I'm going to use it is that I can just type Atom dot right here, and we will see the directories that we've created. So here we go. This is the Atom IDE, much like Visual Code. And you can see I have here the map app tutorial with our info. In the map app, in the source folder, in app module.ts, we're going to need to add in Firebase. So we're going to add a couple things here. After the app routing, let's import let's see, what do we need? Let's import Angular Fire module. Angular Fire 2. Let's import Angular Fire database. Database module. Angular Fire 2 / database. Let's import Angular. Got database module. We need Firebase service. From /services. We'll have to make this service. Firebase.service. And let's import our environment where we'll put our API key. Environment /environment/environment. We'll have to make that as well. And let's import everything. Okay, and then we will call initialize app, and we'll pass in the environment.firebase. Okay, and in our declarations, we need in our imports, we have app module for root, app routing module. We want Angular Fire module dot initialize app environment dot firebase. Angular Fire database module is the second one we want. And in our providers, we're going to want, for now, this Firebase service. And I believe that is it for providers. We have Ionic root, Bootstrap, app component. Looks good. Alright. So let's save that. And here's our environments and our environment.ts. In there, we're going to take a look at Firebase's, at our project overview here. And if we scroll down to our web key, we're going to grab all of that. We're not just going to paste it in though, however. So in our environment.ts file here, we have our constant environment, production is false, and then let's have a Firebase, and we're going to just put in everything that is in the config, like that. We're not going to call initialize, and this isn't a script. So just like that. And let's save it. Okay. So our app module needs a service, which is Firebase service. So we're going to go to our node console, and we'll do Ionic G for generate service, and let's put this in services slash, and we called it Firebase. So notice we don't have a service folder yet. We're not in a parent directory. Let's cd down to, what is this called? App itself, and run that command again. So there is our services folder, and there is our Firebase service. So our Firebase service.ts file is going to after it imports injectable, we'll import everything as Firebase /app, and we'll import Angular Fire database. We just want the database now, not the module. Angular Fire database from Angular Fire 2 / database, and we want to import Angular Fire oh yeah, you know what, we need Angular Fire storage too. Angular Fire storage from Angular Fire 2 / storage. And let's save that and then go back to our app module. And we also want to import the storage module here. So import Angular Fire storage module. From Angular Fire 2 / storage. Oh my goodness, I type storage. And then let's add that here. So, comma, Angular Fire storage module. Okay. All right. So we've got all that. Now, okay, so now in our Firebase service, we're going to need, first of all, a model. So I'm going to right click over here and let's make a new folder that is not in home. That's an app called models. And in that models folder, let's create a new file, which we'll call, I guess, location. Location.model.ts. Okay, and our location, we're just going to export what our database information looks like. So an interface called location, and that will just have a key, which is a string, a content, which is a string, a latitude, which is a number, a longitude, which is a number, a title, which is a string, and a picture, which is actually also a string. The raw data of a picture we can send as a string. There are other ways to send it, but that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so now in Firebase service, we can grab that, we can import that model. So let's import, let's see, location, and that's in models, location dot model, and finally let's import Firebase / storage. Then we have an injectable. For our Firebase service, we'll need a private variable, which will be our location list reference. And that, actually, we're going to just set that equal to this.db list. So our database, db.list, and then it'll be a list of locations. We'll call that location data. And we'll have a public variable, which is our current location that we can pass around. And we'll set that equal to a type location. In the constructor, we'll need a reference to a database that we just called, which is Angular Fire database. We'll need a reference to our storage, which is Angular Fire storage, and that's it. After the constructor, we need to get our locations list, and all that's going to do is return this.location list ref. We need to add locations, and that is going to return this.location list ref dot push location. Add location is going to take a variable of type location. We need to be able to edit locations. So edit location, location, and that is going to return this.location list ref dot update, and we update by the location key and the location itself. We'll want to occasionally delete locations, or at least give users the ability to do so. Again, that's going to take a location as a parameter, and it will return this dot location list ref dot move location dot key. All right, and that is it. Okay, so I'm going to save all that. And location module. Alright, so let's see here. Let's make some pages. So by default, actually let's just test out that everything is working. I doubt it, but so if we do Ionic serve -c, we can get on there with the phone too. I'm just going to see what kind of errors I get. I'm sure I didn't set everything up correctly so far, so let's see if we actually get access to the database and what we need to fix if we don't. Alright, so as I suspected, something is wrong. Not much information there. Let's take a look at our console. Alright, so we have an error in AppMod. Cannot find module environment. Alright. So far it is a problem with initialization. Let's make sure we have that path right. So let me fire up Atom. And in our app module, it is looking for import environment from, just misspelled it. Environments. Let's save that. Save that. And that. Okay. And let's take a look. Wait for it to compile. Alright, so we're getting some failed to compile. We cannot find, still can't find my environment. So let's see what's wrong with that. Import. Import environment. Environment from // environments / oh goodness, it's killing me. Environment. Okay. And then Angular Fire database, Angular Fire storage, Angular Fire 2. So I look at my node modules here. And look down for okay, let's see what the command line's saying now. Cannot find Angular core. Area. Cannot find. Alright, there are node modules, Angular Fire, AngularFire.ts. Okay. Let me pause the video and see what's going on. Okay, so I think I actually installed Angular Fire at a directory above map app, so I'm going to run that install command again, which was let's see, and yeah, there we go. Let's do that again. And I bet if I cd up a directory, I'll actually see. Yeah, there we go. So see how we got an Angular new Firebase at Firebase here, and an Angular folder directory. That's what we needed to see. So I'm actually going to cd up a directory, and yeah, so there's a node modules there, and there shouldn't be. I'm going to remove .rf node modules from there. So you always want to be in the directory of the actual app when you're installing, things like Firebase. Give that a second. There's a lot of node modules to get through. There we go. So now if I cd back to my map app, there we go. Let's try that again. Ionic serve-c. See what errors we get now. So what we're looking at now is a browser that can simulate what it'll look like on a actual phone or tablet when that is working. It's going to take a little while, this first load, to set up. If I hit Control-Shift-I, awesome, we got it, okay. I can actually look at what it would look like on different phones by clicking this phone toggle right there. So there's an iPhone 6 that I will test out on my actual iPhone in this tutorial towards the end. But if we look at our console, it looks like everything's loaded, so we're good. Alright, so Firebase we're going to assume is working. So I'm going to hit Control-C twice to get out of that console. And let's get a few more things here. So let's get the camera, which we're going to install as a plugin as Ionic Cordova plugin camera, and then we will npm install that camera to this location. Go. And then we want to just paste in this command right here. So we can save it at our Ionic native location. The next thing we're going to get is geolocation, so users can log their actual location. So similar process, we just go to the installation in the Ionic documents framework and paste in that command. So these are Cordova plugins that we're adding to Ionic. Remember, Ionic is a way of developing mobile apps, a framework for it, that rests on top of Cordova. Cordova is actually doing the cross-platform compiling, and Angular is doing a lot of stuff for us, but our routing and stuff like that. So if you add Angular to Cordova, is kind of how you get Ionic, plus a few other cool things. Alright, so let's go ahead and install geolocation next to our Ionic native directory. Alright, and those are the only two things we need. So we need to import those as well. So while that's installing, we can just get started on the import. Let's import camera from, where did we put it? We put it at Ionic native / camera. And this is important. You need ngx at the end for the latest build of Ionic. ngx It just has to do with the way that we access our plugins at this point. That you need that. So the other thing we'll need is geolocation. Geolocation. No. Location. From same place, kind of. At Ionic native slash where was it? I think it was just geolocation. Geolocation slash ngx. We can always look in our node modules and check if those don't correspond. And then let's save that. So the ngx is necessary for it to recognize it as a provider, and just in the latest build of Ionic 4. You didn't used to need to do that. Alright, so after Firebase service, let's add camera, and let's add geolocation. There. Alright, so now we need some pages. So I'm going to Ionic-G, and let's make a like a dashboard page. So let's make a folder called Pages and -G page. Actually, I'm not sure if that's upper or lowercase. Let's check. So on the Ionic documentation. Go back. Let's go to introduction. I just want to see what whether it's upper or lowercase. I guess we could just try it out. Let's try it out. Pretty sure it's uppercase. Ionic-G page, pages dash. Well, let's just call it login. Eventually you would want to do user. Nope, it's lowercase. Okay. -G. Generate. Oh, I know what the problem is. There's no -G. I just looked at the alias. Say Ionic-G, make a page, put it in pages, call it login. There we go. Alright. We also, so let's take a look at what we made. So if we close node modules, now we have a pages folder and a login page. Cool. Alright. While we're here, let's make a page for the map, and let's make a page for the list view. Detail. We just call it list. Okay. So when they click, and then let's make a page called add, so that they can add. And that should be good. Okay. Let's do Ionic serve-c so we can see what we're doing as we do it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is reroute to the login page. So in Atom, if we go down to our app module, routing, approuting.ts, you can see that we have our routes and redirecting currently to home. I'm going to redirect to login. So that's going to take me to this login page. Let's start editing that login page. Here's the HTML. There's nothing in it right now. Let's just call this dashboard for now. We're not going to handle user authentication here. And in the login page, let's have in our content let's have two buttons. So an Ion button, size equals large, and when we click on it, let's load our map page, which will actually, we can just make our home page, and we can provide a router link to /home. But we'll just double check. Sometimes because of the way that maps load, you have to load them with TypeScript function. Sometimes you can just provide the router link. So I'm going to do both here just to ensure that the map page gets loaded when we want it to load. And let's provide a router direction, which will be forward so that we can always go back to the detail page. And it needs a name, so map. Whoops. Didn't realize map was a type. Map, and then Ion, like that. Okay. Good. And let's just duplicate this, and we'll make this one. We don't need to have a on-click listener here. We can just provide a router link to, actually, since we're already in pages, right, or right here, we can just use the router link to add, and we'll just say add there. All right, so our login page should now be loading. If we refresh this, we should no longer redirect to home, we should redirect to login. And we're not, so let's see what's going on here. Interesting. Let's look at our app routing. So we are redirecting to login, and login is right there. So let's get rid of that home. There we go. So there's our dashboard with a map and an ad. If I click on map, I get to the home page. That's what I wanted to see. And we don't have a back button yet, so let's go ahead and add that to the home page. And we do that with homepage HTML. In the right after the title, first of all, let's give this a better title. Let's have an Ion buttons slot equals start. Ion buttons. And then let's have an Ion back button, and we'll give the default href, set that equal to pages login, like so, and then close the Ion back button there. Okay. The other thing we need in the page is we'll need a div for the map. This is going to function as our map page. So I'm just going to get rid of all that. And let's have a div. We'll give it an ID. Map ID equals map /div. And the other thing we'll have is a ion list header, locations, ion list header, and in that ion list we'll have an ion item, and then we'll just set up a ng4. So this is actually going to bind some TypeScript code to this ion item so that we can load it dynamically. So we're going to put some code in here, let location of locations list, which we have yet to define, and we will load async like so. That's our ng4, and then when we click on them, let's assign the location that we've clicked on. And what else do we need? Then we can provide a router link, which we'll pass a parameter into. So the router link itself will go to list, and we'll pass in the location title, which is a variable we have yet to define, and router direction will be forward. Then in this list we can actually put the location dot title, and let's close the ion item. Okay, so that's what's going to be our home page. I'll close the ion list as well, like so. Formatting for sanity. Okay. And ion list. We didn't open an ion list, so we should probably do that. It's warning me. Yeah, so above the header we need ion list. Alright. And save. Alright, now in the homepage .scss here we can reference our map, and we have to do that same trick to make sure it isn't super small. So we'll set the width to 100% and the height, just like we did with Bootstrap, to 100, or let's say 400 px. Okay, so now homepage .ts is going to do a lot of stuff. First of all, we need to load the map. So if we scroll down to we need to load the maps SDK. So we scroll down to our index.html. The way Ionic works is this app root becomes the whole app, but other than that, it's just like a normal HTML like index, like we just defined. It's just that all the code the app gets dynamically loaded right into here. So on a phone or on a website, we can change this index so that we have our same script, and I'm just going to paste this in. Right. It's a little different, but right above app root. So after we load the body, and so here is where your API key goes. but it's the same format. We're just not loading it asynchronously anymore. So there's a whole lot going on as the app loads, and we don't want to mess with that. And we're also not initializing. But this is all the same, maps.google.com/map/API.js key. All right, so let's go get our key again. And that was in Google Maps API. Just copy that. And let's paste that in here. And save. So now we can access the Maps SDK. And then in Firebase, in homepage.ts, we're going to do a lot of stuff. All right, so we need to talk to Firebase and we need to talk to Google Maps right here. So let's start with our imports. So first of all, we need to import some other things other than component from @AngularCore. We'll need viewChild to access the map element ref, and on init from AngularCore. We will need to import geolocation here from Ionic native /geolocation/ngx. We'll need to import let's see, do we need local storage? I don't believe we, just for sanity's. Let's not import storage. All right, let's import Firebase service. That was in services /Firebase.service. We need to import our location model. So location from /model/location.model. We need to import. Oh, you know what? We'll need a RxJS so backwards compatibility for RxJS. This is going to allow us to listen for changes from Firebase when other people update it, but we need RxJS compat /add/operator/map because we'll need to map things. We need to import observable because we are observing the database and its changes. So again, this is going to be RxJS compat. In their newest version, the references are a little different, and I don't want to struggle with that. We're doing enough without worrying about the latest version of RxJS. Finally, we want to import our router so that we can move to a page with an appropriate variable from @Angular/router. All right. At the very top, let's declare a var. A variable called Google. So before we even open the class, and then we want to implement on init here, and let's have an @viewChild. So we want to find that map element ref. Let's have a public variable to hold the string that will be our image. Let's have a locations list an observable list, which is going to be observable location. Oops, brackets. Observable list, and we'll close it there. A map variable, which is any. A position variable, which is any. We need a public. Let's see here. I think that's actually all we need for now. Alright, so all that is happening. Okay. So we need a few other elements here. So I'm just going to look down at my login page, and we actually just want to grab these constructors, and on init we need yeah. All right. So we have our home page open. Let's have a constructor, which is going to take a lot of variables. That's private. Let's put our router in first. So variable type router, a parameter of type router, private geolocation of type geolocation, private storage, type storage. What else do we need? I think that's it. Oh, no, Firebase, of course. So we have a comment there. Cool. We can make this public, actually. Firebase service. Of type Firebase. So that's our own service. And then when we open the constructor, let's, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's access Firebase right away. So we'll say this.locations list equals this.firebase service.get locations list dot snapshot changes, and then we want to map it. So after we snapshot changes, let's dot map, and let's pass the changes so that we'll have access to those changes. At this point, we can then say return changes.map, and we'll have another, and we will then use the key to access the payload, and c payload.value will access the value. So that way we can dynamically populate that item list. Okay, so on init, we'll set up our map. I'm going to let map options, we'll just make a new variable, map options equals, and we can set the zoom to like something really high, like 10, map type ID, Google dot maps dot map type ID dot road map type control set to false, street view false. Okay, those are our map options to set up the map. And then here we can say this dot map equals new Google dot maps dot map this dot map element dot native element map options. We'll pass in there. And let's so now we can also on init subscribe to our changes so that we can populate the map with whatever's in Firebase. So after we've set up the map, let's say this dot Firebase service dot get locations list dot value changes dot subscribe. This is another RGX just for listening, and then the subscribe result we can pass in, and we will for let item of result, and what we'll do is we'll this dot add marker, and we'll pass in item and we'll say this dot position equals new Google dot maps dot Google dot maps dot lat lang, and we'll say item dot latitude, item dot longitude, and do we have a position variable? We do. Okay. And then we'll say this dot map dot set center to this dot position. So again, we'll set the center of the map to the last position that we get, and then we can close that. All right. So finally, Firebase, we're going to add a marker to each. All right. So let's write our add marker function. That was the end of on init. So add marker. That's going to take a location, if any, and we will let lat lang equal new Google Maps lat lang location latitude. Location longitude. And we will let marker equal new Google Maps dot marker. We want to set that to map this dot map, the map that we currently have, and then we can set an animation. We can make it drop. We can set a position to okay. There we go. So we add a marker, and then we need to add a info window after we have a marker. So this dot add info window marker location. And so let's write the add info window function next. That's going to take a marker and a location variable. And I'm just going to paste in the content string this time. So the content string is going to look like this, where we have, so very similar, we have a clickable item ID, H3. This is just pretty much straight from the website we made, except we're passing in location.title location. So paste that in. That's our content string. Let's, after we make the content string, let info window equal new Google Maps info window, and for our content, we want content string, just like before, and we can set the max width to 400 here, because it's for a phone now. And this dot info, we might later need control over our info window. Okay, so now we need google.maps.event.add-listener, and that's going to be info window down ready again. This time the syntax is a little different. We're going to say, when you click on that, var clickable item equals document.get element by ID, clickable item again, and we'll add an event listener to that. Click. We will do the following. We will call this dot Firebase service dot set current. What did I call it? Set current location to location. This dot location title, we can set to location dot title, and this dot router dot navigate. Let's navigate away with our router into our list view, and we're gonna go into it with the location title. You can only pass strings around with the Angular Ionic routers, so you have to then call a service if you want to do something else with those strings. All right. Finally, let's do google.maps.event.add-listener. Listener marker click, and after we hear a click, we will info window dot close this dot map, close our markers. If we click anywhere else, we want to close the info window. We may need to do a little more to ensure that happens, but that may be enough. All right, so let's save that, and we should be able to load the map. It won't be very interesting because we don't have any locations yet. So before we do that, let's add in the ability to add a location. So I'm going to go to my addpage.ts, and here in the HTML, let's first of all, let me just paste in the back button here. So after the title, we want a back button, and you can say add location. So in the Ion content, we want a Ion item, a Ion title, location title, and let's have a Ion input here. So we allow the user to input things with Ion input, and we bind that to our ng model, like so, so that we can access this in TypeScript. Location, oops, equals location title. We can put a placeholder if we want, equals title, and close that, backslash Ion input, and then let's close that Ion item. Like that. And label Ion input. Okay. Same thing. I'm going to copy this. And let's get this over. Actually, it should all be tabbed a little more. Alright, just for sanity. And let's copy that and paste it here. And this is going to be location content, and it will be location.content. And then let's be able to take a picture. So for that, I'm going to use a Ion card, and in that card, let's have a Ion button, size equals large, and let's put an on-click equals open camera. We'll have to make that in code. Take picture will be the name of that button. And then in our Ion card content, just like the Bootstrap content, we'll have picture, and we'll have a image, and the source is going to equal this base 64 image that we'll define in code, and we'll link to it with, we'll bind to it with the ng if equals base 64 image. We'll close the image tag, and then close Ion card content tag. And then let's have, so that's the end of the card. Let's have a we need to close the card. Card. And then finally we'll have an Ion button. Size equals large. And when we click, we will add location, and we'll pass in the location. And let's have a router link to the map. So let's say /home, and router direction equals forward, like that. And then let's say add location and content, and we'll close that Ion. Okay. So now in TypeScript, in our add page, we'll need a few things from our import. So we need to import our model, import location, from // models, because we're in a pages right now. Location.model. We need to import Firebase service that we wrote from // services / Firebase service. We need to import our location, so geolocation from at Ionic native geolocation ngx. We want to import. So here we want camera and camera options because we're going to reduce the quality of the picture so we can more easily move it around the web and to our database and back. And that's going to be from at Ionic native /camera /ngx. And that should do it. Okay. So here is our class. And we're exporting it. We have an unengined. So let's have a public base 64 image because we're bound to that in our HTML. So we need one. And then let's have a blank location variable to hold our location that we're currently looking at. And thinking about saving to Firebase. 1, 2, 0, fatal, nothing. Picture, also nothing. Okay, so it's not really doing anything right now. In the constructor, let's get references to all our imports. So private geolocation of type geolocation. Private camera of type camera. Private file of type file. Oh, no, we don't need file. We might, but I don't think we do. Alright, that is it for our constructor. Now on init, let's go ahead right then and grab the geolocation. This .geolocation.get current position, then pause, and let's open our brackets, let's stop location. So right there we'll set our latitude, right as soon as we init to the position coordinates dot latitude, and same thing with longitude. This dot location dot longitude equals pause dot chords dot longitude. If we catch an error, then we will pass that on. Let's just log it right now. So console log error getting location. Just so we know what's happening there. And then that can close. That's good. Alright, let's write the function for add location that we call in HTML. So add location is a really simple function. It just passes that location onto our Firebase service. So this Firebase service add location location. All right, open camera. It's the other function we have to write. So open camera. No parameters. Let's have a constant called options for camera options. And set that equal to, what did I call it? Camera option or camera option? Camera options. And yeah. Okay, and I don't think we need to import that in our constructor. Let's have a constant for camera options, and let's open some brackets here. So we're going to reduce the quality to 50%. We're going to make destination type this dot camera dot destination type dot data URL. Our encoding type this dot camera dot encoding type JPEG. Media type this dot camera dot media type dot picture. Okay, so then we'll call this dot camera dot get picture. Pass in these options, and we'll say then let's pass on our image data and handle it as follows. So image data, we're going to say this dot base 64 image equals data image slash JPEG. So some information about the type of image it is so that HTML can understand it. This data image JPEG equals and then we need a comma there. And we can just add to that, append to that our image data. And finally, we can say this dot location dot picture equals this dot base 64 image. Okay, let's close that. And if we have an error, we will need to handle that error probably. But for now, that's okay. Okay. That closing there. This closing here. And this is the image data. Alright, that should be good. And that is it. Okay. So let's try and add. Well, let's try and compile first and see what happens. Probably quite a few errors, it looks like. Alright, wow. So let me see what the first error is. So it looks like a lot of them are related to the map itself. So we redirect to the login, we have a cannot get error. Alright, so let's look at our console. Alright, error in homepage.ts. 16 and 23. Homepage. TS. So let me actually pull this over. And let's look at this as we fix things. Okay. So it doesn't like homepage.ts 1623. So 16. Oh, homepage.ts. Line 16 implements would help. Let's see what happens there. Alright. Homepage. Whoa. Slow down, buddy. Cannot find Ionic native. So we need at. There? Is that the only place I did that? Perhaps. At Ionic native. Okay. I cannot find RxJS compat observable. Fix that. Alright, so that was a few things. I'm going to kill it again. And Ionic serve again, see what the first error is. Okay. So let's see what's going on now. So error in 19 and 16, something expected. Let's see what that is. So we're still in homepage, 1916. Okay. So observable list needs a colon right there. Okay, less errors. Oh, never mind. Cannot find module RGX compat observable. Okay. Let's see. That is an interesting error. Let's Google it. Okay, so debugging process. Let's go ahead and install that. Perhaps I didn't have RGX compat. Okay. And let's Ionic serve again. Hopefully it can now find that. Let me bring up the code as well. So still some errors. No big deal. Alright, so we're missing a semicolon or something in add page now. Alright, add page.ts. It wants a 1713. 1713. Okay. Interesting. So we have location. Oh, we need an equals here. There we go. Alright, error in property latitude does not exist on type location. Okay, that's back on the home page. So let's see here. Location. We import it, yes, from locations.model. we let's see. We import it and then location. Let's see, where is that? Line 52. Alright. So location. There we go. Whoops. Location there. So I didn't know what that was. Alright, and cannot find info window. Did you mean info window? 75. Alright. So Google Maps, add event listener. That should be info window. Property set current location does not exist. Firebase service. Okay. So set current location. Let's check Firebase service. I probably called that something different. Or just didn't define it. Okay. Set current location, and we take an location. Location, and all we're gonna do there is say this current location equals location. Property location title does not exist on homepage. Homepage TS, where is it? 79. Moving on. This dot location title. Okay. So let's have a public location title, which is a string. Alright, property list does not exist on promise geo position. Add page 26. Interesting. Promise geo position. Alright. So let's look at add page, and when we init, we say this dot geolocation dot get current position dot then position properties. Okay. So let's see. This one I'm not sure about. I'm going to pause the video for a second. Okay, so one thing we need to do here is we also need a private public, actually. Public and clears up the errors. Alright, property list is non-existent type promise. Interesting. So it doesn't like the way I'm grabbing geoposition here. Ah, this needs to be then, not this. Okay, cannot find type error. Cannot find name error. Did you mean error? I did not mean error. But we can just get rid of that. Property picture error. Property picture does not exist. Type. Okay. So. Oh. What you mean picture? Get picture then. Property picture. Okay. I did mean picture. Thank you. Alright. So that needs to be picture. Like that. So I think I need to, let's see. Let me paste this in. Let's see what this problem is here with geolocation. Compiled successfully. Holding my breath. Alright, let's see what the page looks like. There we go. Okay. So let's add. Awesome. Let's take a look at the map. Likely not going to be able to load yet. Oh, you know what? In addpage.ts, we need to also handle loading the map. So let's go to this, and from our add page, let's see, I mean not from our add page, from our login page. In TypeScript, we never wrote the function that loads the map. So in TypeScript, we're just going to say, first we'll import our router. So import router from constructor, we can have a private router, type router, and then after on init, we can have a load map page function, which takes no parameters, but it says this dot router dot navigate to dot dot slash home. Let's save that. All right. Make sure there's no errors. Looks good. And all right, so at this point I'm going to actually get on my phone and test this out by loading a picture. Okay, so the way you connect to this on your phone or tablet to test is you can see that they have a external link here, so you just type in the full HTTP right up to there. You'll need to get the Ionic Dev app, which is available for Android and iOS, to test things out on your phone. And so go ahead and check that out. Once you get it, you can click on the settings and you can enter address manually from your phone. That's what I'm doing right now. So I type in lowercase http colon backslash backslash and then this information here. So port 19 or IP address 192.168.0.9 and then just 8100 and I type done and not getting anything on my phone yet. Interesting. See if we can get to our map. No, that's not loading yet either. Did we get any errors? Not yet. Alright, well let's try to load something without a picture and see what happens. So testing content. Won't be able to take a picture because we're not on a phone. But let's add location and content. And we're getting an error here. Okay. Let's look at Firebase and see if we got anything. Let's close that down. And in databases, there's our database. Hey, we got some location data. Cool. Alright, so we got nothing for picture, but we got testing content. We did, however, throw an error, so let's see if our console gave us any information. It did not. And let's see here what this is telling us. Okay, so let me go to console. Uncut and promised. So, no provider for storage. Alright, so let's check on that. So in our home page, or in our app module, do we have a storage provider? We do not. So let's put storage there, and Angular Fire storage module. I believe we need that. Oh, we already have that. Okay. But we need storage here. So let's see where storage comes from. So storage comes from, let me think, I believe that is actually need storage? Where is that getting called? So in add page.ts, we're not importing storage. In homepage.ts, we're not using storage, are we? Yes, we are. Private storage, okay. Where do we actually use storage? I don't believe we do. So I don't think we actually need that. No, we don't. Alright. So we're just going to get rid of that. We don't import it, so we don't need a reference to it. Let's save that. Alright. So let's switch back to Angular. Let's go back. See if we can reload here. That should get rid of that error. It's great that we're talking to Firebase. Let's click on map. Okay, cannot read property roadmap of undefined. Okay, homepage dot on init. Let's see what that is. So in homepage on init, we say map options. We say let map options zoom map type ID Google Maps May map type ID. Let's save that and go back and let's go back home. And we've recompiled here. Let's look at our map. Awesome, we get the drop down. We can click, oh, I can't click on it. Can we click on it? Not yet. And we can't click on that either. Cannot match. List undefined. So I don't believe we actually even need to pass a parameter to the list. Oh, but we will have to modify our app routing. So let's switch over to here, and in app routing module in list, we'll need to add children to that. So let's see, we just want to load list slash location title, like that. That should take care of that problem. And did we modify list at all? I don't think we did. We did not. Alright, so the list page is just an empty page at this point. We'll want to display the pictures, so what I'm going to do for the list page is we're just going to copy over the same information for add that we had in ng content. So there it is, except we'll add the we'll add one button, which is this. So we'll give the ability to delete, and we'll delete location. And then when we get there, let's add our back button. So I'm going to copy and paste that in under the title. And we can just say like details or something for the title. And when we go back, yeah, we can go home, that's fine. And the other thing I did is instead of add location, So over in TypeScript, listpage.ts, let's add the same imports we have for our add page. I'll just copy and paste those in. And then for our constructor, we can copy and paste those in again. So we'll still have the ability to pull geolocation in case you want to update your location. And we'll go ahead when we init, or in our constructor itself, we will grab the current location, which gets set when we click on something. And then in init, just to be sure, we can pass parameters, we can console log what we got. And in we'll have the ability to open camera the same way. So I'll paste that in for open camera. And then let's have a edit location. Location, and all we'll do here is say this dot Firebase service dot edit location and pass in location. And then we need a delete location. And again, we will this dot Firebase service dot delete location. Location. All right. Whoops. There we go. All right. And from the HTML, we actually want to edit location. On click. And everything else is the same. ng model binding for picture. All that is going to be exactly the same. And yeah, the only thing we're doing is in our list page TS, we set the current image of the picture to whatever our current location is has as a picture. All right, let's see if we have any errors. Oh, I misnamed something in Firebase service. Delete location, not locations. That's the first error. Okay, so it's saying compiled successfully. Let's see what that looks like. So if I go back, back's not working. All right, if I go to map, we get the map. Still can't click on it. If I click on testing, we get error. Assign location is not a function. Okay, so let's see here. In homepage.ts, we have assign location, and then in homepage.html, assign location. Which calls assign location's not a function. We got the map working. Still can't click on things. I'm getting an error every time I click. We have add functionality, kind of. Let me try to get on this with my phone and actually get a picture in there. So clear this. Oh. Base 64 image does not exist on type list page. Yes, it does. Alright, let's see what that's all about. So list page.ts. Oh, no, that's right. I need a base 64 image here. So right after we declare our list page, let's have some variables. Let's have a public location key. Let's have a public location of type location and a public base 64 image of type string. Save that. That will certainly help. Okay. And then let it compile. Okay, so now when I click on a list function, it's saying that get current location is not a function. So let's see, do I have that in my Firebase? Services, I know I wrote set get current location. Oops. Get current location, and we'll just return the current location. All right. Let's let that compile. And while that's compiling, I'm going to manually enter in the address again and see if I can get on this with my phone yet. And let me just make sure if I scroll up. Oh, 0.5. Okay, I was typing 0.9. That makes a lot of sense. So on my phone, I'm trying to connect. Let's see if we have any errors. It is compiling. Taking a while to compile. Alright, I'm gonna kill it. Error in get current location. I just fixed that though. Interesting. Get current location. And in the last page, we say get current location. Okay, so I think it just didn't see that yet. So let's Ionic serve -c again. Control-Shift-I over here. Alright, so we have our map, we have the ability to click on the list, and we got over, but it's saying title is undefined. Okay. Let me pause the video and see what's going on here. So I'm on my phone and I now have the ability to add. So I'm going to add a kind of just random thing. The picture is working, so I'm going to take a picture of my mouse, use photo, and add location and content. It looks like I did get a photo. Okay, so the on-click listener is not working, but if I go to map now, you can see there is my second one. And we're not passing along the location in the right way. It's the current issue. So let's see here. Cannot read property title of undefined in list. So if we go to our list page, HTML 1421. Let's take a look at what our list page looks like. So in 18, we say this dot location equals this dot Firebase dot service get current location. Okay. And title of undefined. So, let's take a look in our home page then. And when we, first of all, we can fix the, we needed a on context change here. So let me just paste this in right below init. And this is just going to help us. So the same thing we're doing with init. When we change locations, we're just going to refresh all the locations. I just forgot to put that in. When we add a marker, let's see what happens here. So we add a marker, latlang, add a marker here. And we say this dot info window marker dot location. We add an info window. We have a content string with an ID clickable item. We then add a listener with DOM ready. And we say clickable item equals that, clickable item event listener. We, let's console.log here. Clicked on marker. And then I believe what's happening is we're not setting a location. Title. homepage.html, we have a click assign location on our ng items. Do we have an assign location function here? Don't believe we do. Alright, so let's write that function. It's going to look like this. Assign location is going to set the location and set the title and then just log for us what happened. Okay. So that should help quite a bit. I now have a function for assigning location, and for the info window, we have an event listener. We're a Google Maps add event listener. Click. Oh, that's interesting. Something strange about this info window. When we add a location title, well, let's see if we can navigate from our list at least now. So let's go back. Refresh it. Let's look at map. Click on testing. Alright, so we're now seeing live database changes from testing. This one I actually took a photo of my mouse, and you can see that that is showing up. Very cool, and we can go back. Okay. So let's check on our websites that we built. So that was in the folder. Let's see here. It was in, no, not Node.js. It was in my desktop. And it was this one. In map app tutorial index. Alright, so there's our index. We are not dynamically loading from Firebase. Let's see what's happening. Location data array is not defined. Maps.js, locations data array.length. Okay. So let's see what's going on in the website. Switch back to Adam here, and in our website itself here we have in maps.js locations data array.length. So that is not yet defined when we start updating locations. So let's make sure here that let's look at our index, and so we have maps.js loading after Firebase controller, so it should know about the length. And then let's see. So maps.js, we have info window, initialize. If we grab that and put that up here, let's take a look at update locations. So array length, var position, or var, locations data array at I. Okay. should be all right. Locations data array. Perhaps I'm calling it two different things. So in Firebase controller, we call it locations data array. Locations ref. We immediately snapshot to array and we call update locations. And location array equals location array push item. Locations data array equals location array. That all looks good. And then over here, it doesn't like, oops. Let me just make sure the spelling's correct. Let's take off update locations for a second and see what happens. Okay, so it is update locations that's causing the problem. And let's, if we put it back on, do we get that same error? Yeah. Interesting. So we need update locations to be defined first. Pause the video, see what's going on here. So I see what the problem is. My script reference to the Firebase controller is not properly defined, so it was not seeing a locations data array. So now, if I load, we should get, yes, zoomed in. We can click on it. There's the picture of my mouse. If I click on it again, alright, file is not found. Any help from the console? Nope. Alright, so it's looking for list.html. Oh. So we just need in our in our Firebase maps.js, we're redirecting to info.html. Saving there. That got changed as I was trying to figure out what was going on, but it shouldn't be changed in your code. So let's go back here. Oh. Index. There we go. Alright, so here's our map. We can click on it. Hopefully. Potentially. Let's see. Now we can't click on it. That's interesting. Let's see what's going on with that. Node outload location. We could click on it just a second ago. Let's reload it. Let's get out of our web view. So if we click on it, there we go. And there is my picture of the mouse without correct orientation, but we can go back to the map and we load it again. So cool, that part is working. Let's check out how our app is doing on development. So location key does not exist on type homepage. Interesting. Cannot match pages / login. Ah, all right, we can fix that. So up in our homepage.ts, HTML. Let's see here. That is correct. Let's just go here and go through the whole app. So if we click on map, let's see if we can click on individual components here. Cannot click on that. We get to there. We go back, that's all working. Add is working. Alright, so the last thing to fix is this clickable item. So let's see what's going on with that. We're not picking up any clicks yet. So, and our code, we, let's see, set our info window here. We add a marker from Firebase like that, and when we add a marker we take a location value and we set the animation, set the position, and then we say this dot add info window marker dot location. Okay. When we add our info window, take in the marker.location, we let the content string equal info window class, clickable item. Let's make sure that those are the same. And that's all in the div class, yes? Okay. We let info window equal new Google Maps info window. The content string like that. And then here we say Google Maps add event listener. Info window. DOM ready. And we specify our clickable item as this, and we add an event listener on click to that, and we log clicked on item, clicked on marker. So that is not happening. Finally, we add an event listener to marker on click, and we say info window. This needs to be open. This dot marker. And then below that we can say Google Maps dot events dot add listener. And this we can add to our map itself. On click. Here we're going to close the marker. So if you click anywhere else in the map, the info window should close, so you can keep, looking at the map. And info window dot close this dot map marker. And we add that. All right. So while that's compiling, I'm going to get on this on my phone again. Oh yeah, let's see what's happening with this location key. G property get locations list. So homepage TS22, homepage TS22, and get location list, get locations list. So which actually is it? Firebase service. It is get locations list. Okay. So let's go back to homepage.ts, get locations list, get locations list. Oops. Locations list, locations list. Where was the one that just said location? Locations list. Looks good. Locations list. Huh. Thought I just saw it. Okay. Right. So I'm on my phone. I'm going to get on it and add another picture. So center address, HTTP 168 or 192.168.0.5, right? One 680.5, port 8100. Did we get that error again? Property get locations list. Does not mean on 53 and 46. 53. Oh. Get locations list. There we go. Get locations list, get locations list. Okay. So I'm going to add another picture, so we have two. As soon as it finishes compiling, but let's check it out here. Make sure we can get to the map. Click on things. All right. Click on them again. and we can see them and add changes. If we click anywhere else, it closes. Same thing there. And the website is working great. Very cool. All right. Well, I was going to add a few more locations, but they'll all appear right here. So you get the idea. Dealing with multiple locations isn't that different from dealing with the ones we already have. So I know that was a really long video, and but we sure accomplished a lot. I will release this repo to you as well, and that is how to set up a cross-platform app, and also have a web page talking to a database and updating live with location data using the Firebase database, real-time database, so live updates, and using Google Maps SDK for their maps. And yeah, you can definitely see like a lot of applications for this kind of stuff. Users, being able to log their location or any location they want and update it over there is the basis for a lot of like social problem solving apps, I believe. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I know there was a lot of like development time, debugging in that, where we were like looking through and seeing where the errors were. That's kind of part of the process of web development, and cross-platform development with Ionic in particular is like looking at the command line and fixing stuff, and I hope you got an idea for like how to do that when you get stuck with something. So sorry about the amount of time that it took, but hopefully it was worth the skills that you picked up and the knowledge that you absorbed. Thank you. Bye.